Tell me, when did you suspect that your man was on the down low?
So about 2 years into our marriage, me and my ex-husband, we were not doing well. It was toxic. One day I needed to use a laptop, but mine was broke, and a lot of times he would let me use his. He wasn't home on this specific day. I go to open his laptop and his email is open. I guess he must have forgot and not realized and just shut it down, but normally he would close his apps out. I go in the email and I see that there are these emails with a strange subject from Craigslist. Something I had to read and open because I was like, oh no, who is he sending messages to? I click on it and it is messages where he's responding back and forth to a man from Craigslist that my ex had reached out to. This man is openly gay, and the man was asking my ex-husband, have you ever been with a man before? Have you ever tried these things before? My ex responds back with, no, but I've always been curious about it.
DL is the acronym for down low, or you keep it on the low. Basically, this is a kept secret or discreet. It is referred to men who identify as heterosexual men but secretly have sexual relations with other men. Usually these men, not in all cases, are usually married, or they have a girlfriend, have kids, and is basically playing home with, a woman and kids and stuff like that, and wants to appear as if they are straight on the outside, which on the inside or on the download, we know some more things are going behind that. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video, guys. My name is Jody. If you heard my voice for the very first time, remember to like, comment, and if you're new here, please join the Islanders family by hitting that red subscribe button. Without further ado, let's get into today's video.
So I want to talk about this real quick because this is an experience that I personally have. So I'm gonna give you a quick little story. Before we even got married, he had like this crazy obsession with wanting to insert himself in my exit. I just was never interested in that. I, to this day, am not. I've always, and teach his own, but I always felt like, that's an exit, and I have a whole entrance waiting for you here, so I don't understand the point of that. But I couldn't understand why he was so obsessed with it. And because I kept denying it and kept saying, no, I don't want to do it, it sounds painful, he decided to ghost me. He didn't see me and he didn't speak to me for about a good week and a half. I specifically remember this because I cried. I was so upset. And I would look at myself in the mirror and think, what is wrong with me that I cannot do these things? I cannot just push myself to do all these things that he wants me to do. He would tell me things like, oh, you're not a freak. I like freaks, and you're too innocent, and you're not a freak enough for me. If you loved me, you would do this. If you loved me, you would do that. So one day I finally decided, okay, fine, I'll do it. I did it a couple of times, completely hated it. But pay attention to how it turns them on. I'm not saying that they're definitely a part of the rainbow community. I'm not saying that they are definitely swinging from that other tree branch. But, I am gonna say that is a ginormous DL red flag. Especially if they get so upset at the fact that you don't want to do it to the point where they decide to ghost you or to give you the silent treatment. Because we have a right as women to say no. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have a right to say, I don't want to do this activity, or I don't want to do that. And if they want to go and be with someone else who will be willing to do it, fine, by all means. But the way that they respond to you saying no is a huge red flag. So I've watched several videos, and I do believe that a lot of DL narcissistic men who are obsessed with the exit, they want to try it because they think and imagine you being a man. Let's just put it out there. Let's just put it out there, ladies. They imagine you being a man. And again, I love the rainbow community. Absolutely love them. I have rainbow in my family. I try to be careful with my words because of TikTok. That's why I say rainbow. But in a relationship, if you are a man on the low or you have any curious feelings, it's okay to be curious. It's okay. It is nothing wrong being curious, but you have to be fair to your partner and make your partner aware and know that, hey, I'm curious about this thing. And if you feel like you can't trust your partner enough, you feel like you can't be open and honest and trust them to be honest with them and vulnerable, then maybe you shouldn't be with the person. But when you're dealing with a narcissist, they don't care. They will not be open and honest with you. They'll just get mad at you for not being okay with whatever activity they want to do.
When you get married to a woman, even though you know that you're gay, you're like destined to do some pretty stupid and harmful things, not only to her, but to you and to all the people involved. Let me tell you about one of those things. I got married, and I had been talking to a guy for about 6 months before I got married. Completely didn't think that it was like gonna amount to anything, wasn't trying for it to, but accidentally fell in love with him because I had never dated a man before, because why would I? was raised super conservative and like would have never allowed myself to do that. But it was in my last semester of college, and I felt like times were getting pretty bleak, and I was about to get married. So why not talk to this random stranger who I met on chat roulette, right? What could go wrong? Anyway, fast forward 6 months, I get married to my wife. She, we're happy. I'm not happy, but, we're pretending to be happy. She's happy, I think. And 3 weeks go by. 3 weeks. And I'm taking a biochemistry course while I'm working on applying to medical school. And while I'm in that class, I get 11 phone calls from her. 11 missed calls. So I think to myself, that's not good. And I immediately knew it was wrong. She didn't say anything. She didn't leave any voicemails. She didn't text me, nothing. She just 11 missed phone calls. And she had my location, so she knew where I was. And I knew what she wanted, because I was like, she somehow found out I was still talking to this guy that I met on chat roulette, which I was. I was absolutely still talking to him. Oh, and by the way, I definitely wasn't telling him that I got married. Lots of mistakes, lots of dishonesty. And I'm prepared, so give me all the judgment. I know everybody's going to fill the comments and tell me how horrible that was. But that's why I'm talking about this. Because I don't think it's right, and I don't think it was good. And I'm trying to help people who might think that they can do the same thing, realize that they can't. So she calls me 11 times. I leave class that day, and I'm going to call her back. I walk outside the building, and she is right there without shoes on, looking like she just saw a ghost or just watched her parents be murdered in front of her. She is horrified, and rightly so. So I knew exactly what the problem was. She obviously found out somehow, and she sat me down, and we wound up having a 3-hour conversation about how she saw my open computer where I was Skyping this guy, and she saw our chat history and everything. 3 weeks into our marriage. That's how she found out I was gay, which is very embarrassing, but that's how she found out. Horrible. So let's talk about it. I have written a short story about this, but I think I'm just going to talk about it. So right after I came out to my wife, she had been at work all day, and I had written down what I wanted to say to her. She came home, we had the conversation. And I don't know what I anticipated happening right then and there. We were living in my parents' basement, which is what's so crazy about how young I got married. Like I didn't have a career. I didn't have a full-time job. I was still in school, but we were married anyway. And my parents were like kind of helping us get on our feet. And maybe that sounds sweet, but it was really horrible actually, because I was so afraid of coming out in any direction, like before I got married, after I got married, because I thought I would lose my housing right out of school, and I had nowhere to go, or like I didn't know what to do. So anyway, she slept in a different room in the basement apartment of my parents' house than me the night that I came out to her. And then for about 3 more nights that continued. We didn't talk at all. Then I noticed she told me one night, I'm gonna sleep somewhere else, and I was like, okay. Didn't know where she was going, but I figured like her parents or something. I find out she's staying at a friend's, I think she told me, and she was staying at a friend's for a while, and it had come to like a week or 10 days after I'd come out to her, and I figured this whole time like she was just trying to like set up where she was gonna go from here or whatever. Well, she comes home and like is still packing one outfit every night and then going to her friend's house. And so I stopped her and I was like, why aren't you just packing up everything? And she got irate at me, like violently angry at me, and was like, how can you ask me that? Are you serious? You're really giving up? Like, this is seriously over? you don't want to try? Like, how can you not want to try? And like, I had to tell her right there that I've been trying for years to make this work. And I think in her mind, me coming out to her was sort of like the beginning of me realizing I'm gay or something. You know, I'm not really sure. We've never talked about this specific story. You know, we've talked about just like everything from a zoomed out lens, but never this specific part. So I'm not sure what was going through her head at the time. But she was very angry, and it got to the point where I had to say, I need you to pack like a full bag. Like, we need to start the moving out process, because I can't keep seeing you. Like, I have to move on too. And my parents aren't, it's not like they're gonna understand what's happening. And I was a kid. Like, this is still when I was 21. I had no idea what I was doing. So if you're there, I've been there.
This man said that men often choose to be on the down low because they aren't given a safe space. When are we gonna keep it a buck? No one, no matter what gender, race, or class, is given a safe space.
It ain't safe for the black or the white girl.
It's not safe. You telling me because a woman doesn't make you feel safe because of your sexual preferences, you go behind that woman's back and sleep with men? You feel safe enough to sleep with another man, communicate with another man, even be in a relationship with another man, but because your woman might not like it, you don't feel safe enough to say it out loud. There's a misconception that lesbians are safe. The only time being a lesbian is safe is when men get to watch or benefit. Once a woman shares that she wasn't gay for the benefit of a man, she's all types of names. Bull,
Babe,
carpet, young M.A. Or she just hasn't had the right D in her life. Men could also create and maintain safe spaces for other men to explore their sexuality. Because as a woman, how can I create a safe space for you if I didn't even know what was going on?
Hey, cuz, what you doing? You busy? No? Okay, do you want to hear about the time when I left a DL guy at a restaurant? Yeah. So, this happened like a few months ago or whatever like this. In my case, I was on a particular app. Y'all know which app that is. It's the J, ends with it, start with a J, ends with a D. Yeah. So, there's guys on there, all of us know, and people be on there talking about when they want this and that and the third, and they knowing damn well they don't want it, right? So, I'm going through here erasing messages because it's a bunch of bullshit. So, I received this one profile where it kind of came at me correct, but it was a blank profile. So I wrote him back and I said, hey, if we're going to have a conversation, I'm gonna need to see a picture of you. So he was nice enough to send me about like 5 pictures. I was like, okay. He very handsome. So we're talking, chatting and everything like that. He asks us for my number. I get him my number, and as soon as I get him my number, we FaceTiming. We were talking on the phone every day, chatting up, everything, right? So that lasted about like, I think a week. So next thing you know, he asks me, he was like, hey, you busy this weekend? I said, no, what about you? He said, well, I'm trying to take you out on a date. I'll pay. Remember that. So next thing you know, that day comes. We're FaceTiming. We're both getting ready to go on this date. So we both cleaned up everything. We finally made it to the restaurant. We're having a good little time. I'm shy. I'm shy when you first meet me, or I'm kind of a little socially awkward when you first meet me because I don't know how to react. So, I was basically just quiet, shy, really wasn't saying too much, but I was still doing the regular things, like I was still talking shit with him, laughing, not trying to keep eye contact with him or nothing like that, right? So, in the midst of us eating and drinking and having a good little time, his phone vibrates. His phone is on the table, face down. And I was like, you gonna answer that? He was like, no, he reached down and he clipped the little button on the side to sit up there and I guess stop it from ringing. I was like, you need to try. I'm like, who was that? And he was like, oh, ain't nobody important. So I hear his phone vibrate again. I said, whoever it is must be very important. He was like, nah, it ain't important. He was like, no, you're important right now. Yeah. So his phone rings again. I reach over and I just turn his phone up. I turn his phone face up and I see a whole girl. It says, my wifey. And I was like, and you know, I was real quick. I was like, I'm like, you better answer her. You better find, answer, see what she want. And he was like, man, why'd you do that? I said, you need to answer the damn phone. I'm like, I'm not finna sit here and listen to the damn phone vibrating throughout this whole date or whatever. And he was like, man, I'll call her back later. I'm with you right now. I was like, okay. So now we sitting there talking, we still sitting there. I'm still trying to carry on, conversation, acting like ain't nothing happened. So the check come. Yeah, this is where it gets interesting. So he says, when the girl come over there with the check, she was like, what's this gonna be? This gonna be separate or together? And he was like, together. And so I'm looking at him just smiling, not thinking like, I can't wait to fucking leave here. So he grabs his wallet, y'all. He just fumbling through his wallet. And next thing you know, he was like, damn, I ain't got my card, I ain't got no extra cash. He like, you got something on you? I was like, you know what? I was like, you ain't got to worry about it. I'll pay for it. And he was like, for real? I was like, yeah, I'll pay for it, baby. Don't worry about it. And he was like, damn, you a real one. Damn. He was like, damn. He like, I lucked out. I was like, yep, you sure did. So the girl come back and she was like, you ready to pay? I said, yes, ma'am. Separate. And he looked at me when I said that. He looked at me was like, man, I thought you said you was gonna pay. And I said, and I thought you was real. Apparently not. So I was like, yeah, man, split this. I said, he gonna pay for his and I'm gonna pay for mine. And so she was like, sir, you ready to pay? He was like, no, not yet. I said, but I'm ready to pay. So she walks off. He was like, man, bro, I thought you was gonna pay for me, man. That's fucked up, man. That's messed up. I said, no, that's messed up. I said, you got a whole wifey, girlfriend, or whatever, and you out on a date with me? He was like, man, that ain't important. I said, yes, it is important. Because like I told him, I said, I don't play about my girls. So I was like, I don't know what you gonna do, but I don't sit up here and pay for men like that. No. Because I'm like, first of all, you're not even my man. Second of all, you DL or whatever you is, and I don't play them games. Okay? So I was like, I don't know what you gonna do, but as soon as she come back with that check, I'm signing my stuff and I'm finna leave. It's a good thing that we drove separate cars. And so he was like, man, you really gonna do that? I'm like, how many times you gonna ask me that? I told you no. So she came back with the check. I sit up there, I signed it, put my card in my wallet. He was like, man, come on, man, just this one time. He was like, I'll make it up to you. She's standing right there. And so I said, ma'am, you have a good day. And I left her a little $2 tip. I said, I don't know what you gonna do. I said, you better pay that. I said, you better pay them folks. I grabbed my keys, got up, walked right on out the restaurant, and I blocked him as soon as I got out the door. So, cousin, I'm glad you heard that, because, baby, I got more stories, okay? But I'm going to let you go to bed, and I'll talk to you tomorrow, okay?
Okay, y'all. So, do my makeup with me while I give y'all a story time about how I was in a 7-year relationship with a very suspect and questionable man. And the only reason I'm saying suspect and questionable is because I did not have definitive proof, like catching him in the act or seeing pictures or anything to say this man is full on gay. But once I get to the story time, y'all gonna be like, bitch. Like, disclaimer, I'm not outing anybody. I'm gonna be using fake names. It's not the fact that it's the sexuality part. It's the down low, hiding, being manipulative, breaking hearts, cheating. That's the bigger moral of the story. Be who you want to be. There's no homophobia here, but be who you want to be and stand on that. Okay? Let's get it. All right, so let's call my ex Ronnie. We're gonna call him Ronnie. Ronnie and we had a lot of mutual friends, and that's just kind of how we met, just in passing. You know how you have friends, and then the guy has friends, and their friends are friends, but we're not friends. Mutuals. Duh. That's what I could call them. Mutuals. So this particular time that I seen him was at Six Flags. He was with his best friend. Keep that in mind, because he's going to be a huge part of the story. And I was with my 2 homegirls. So it was a little bit more intimate than it usually is with all of our friends around. So I was able just to get a better look at him and just a better vibe of who he was, because it wasn't so much noise and so much people. And the vibe was cool. He was very calm, very collective, very mature from what I was seeing, and he was very attractive. For some reason, I guess everything was just chaotic any other time I seen him, but I was able to see him in the light of day. It was not so much going on, and I was like, oh my god, he's very attractive, and I fucked with it a little bit, right? So when we got home, we spoke to each other on Facebook, like, oh, it was nice seeing you, nice getting to know you, this, that, and third, blah, 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 blah. And from that point on, we never stopped speaking. Like, we just never stopped talking. Every day, it was a good morning, how's your day going, this is how, this is what I did today, blah, 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 blah. So fast forward, that was in like August, fast forward to January. He gave me this really, really beautiful long paragraph for my birthday, and I just thought that was really, really cute. Like, this was a guy, he was very consistent. From that point, from Six Flags, the most we went without speaking to each other was probably like a day. So I was like, yeah, I dig him. And then he finally asked me on a date. He said he started a new job and his time was a little bit free. And then he stopped going to school. So he stopped going to college. He was going to a college that was a little further from where we stay at. So when he asked me on a date, he asked me out to the movies, and he paid for the tickets. He kept in touch with me the whole time leading up to me getting there, on like, what kind of snacks do I like to eat, bought the snacks, and like, it's just like very, very, very attentive. And that's what I really, really liked about him. And like I said, I was very young, so it didn't take much to impress me, so to say. And that was just already like more than I've ever like experienced, just him doing that much for me. And I really was vibing with him. It was really, really cool. Fast forward a little bit, we continue speaking, dating. He keeps asking me on dates, and he's paying for the dates. So, and like I told you, I was very young, so him having like a stable job, him being in college, everything was very very new to me. I'm thinking this man is doing it, and he was doing it, honey. Okay. So yeah, like I said, he was doing his thing. Like, I had no complaints, no nothing. So the more I got to know him, the more comfortable he started to become. And with that comfortability I wouldn't say they were red flags, but it was certain things that I just kind of wasn't used to. And it would be his constant need for approval from this best friend that I told you earlier about. Like, it would be kind of before he ever bought something, he had to check in with his friend. And I'm just like, but I already, like, he would come to me and I said, yeah, like, that's cool, I like that. But it had to be like this best friend. I could say, yeah, that's a go, do that, or wear that, or buy that, or anything. But until that best friend said yay or nay, it wasn't moving. Like, that best friend had to give it the opinion. If he couldn't reach that best friend in time, he would wait to do whatever or buy whatever, or until that best friend gave his opinion on what to do. And that was very peculiar to me. But like I said, I was young. It wasn't right. Just step around, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so like I said, from January, we going on consistent dates. In April, he asks me to be his girlfriend and make it official. So now we're official. And mind you, I didn't really disclose to my close friends or my family members that I was getting serious with this particular person, because I've been known to do that, to kind of like jump the gun and want to tell my family and friends about this guy, and then things go left. And I'm just like, yeah, okay. It's another one bites the dust. So I just wanted to just have something for me, see exactly where it was going, how serious this person was, and see exactly what it would turn into before I told anybody. Now we're official. I'm telling my friends and I'm telling my family. He meets my sister first. After meeting my sister, he goes home. I head over to my sister's house. My sister says, Jada, that man is gay. I said, I'm sorry. Wait. Okay. So my sister says that, and I'm like, I'm half taken aback because that was really left field, because from their interaction, it seemed like everything was going really good and they was laughing at each other's jokes or whatever the case may be. And then right after, like, she was like, yeah, that's what it is. And because I already had those underlying feelings, I just couldn't pinpoint exactly what it is in like regards to the best friend and that dynamic being a little weird to me. When she said it, it was just kind of like, that's what I've been feeling. Okay. But I was still very much in denial. In this whole story, I'm not delusional right now. I was delusional back then. But right now, I'm not going to be delusional about being delusional back then. Like, I was stupid. I was young and dumb, guys. So please don't come for me in the comments. Okay? So I kind of just chalk it up to my sister that he was raised around a lot of his sisters, and that could be that influence. She lets it go, I let it go, and we continue on. Now, I met the best friend. Questionable. Here comes another male friend that he's very cool with. Let's call him Johnny. So my ex is Ronnie. This other friend that I'm just meeting is Johnny. Now, I already knew Johnny from in passing, kind of around the same neighborhood, got a lot of mutual friends. When I got with my ex, he was very opinionated about our relationship, and publicly on social media, kind of always, if you know, when you're young, you make cute little statuses on each other's stuff, and he would always be under both of our stuffs, just commenting something weird like, oh, that's gay, or yeah, y'all need to get a room. Like, it was just very like, oh, this is lame. Like, he just always was commenting every status, almost every status. He would comment something. That was a little off-putting to me. So I told him, my ex, Ronnie, about it. And he was just more so on, oh, that's just Johnny being Johnny. That's just bro. Da 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 da. That's going to be a consistent theme. So pay attention to that too. So this one is about to cut off. But if y'all want part 2, you know what to do. Okay? Okay.
Here are 3 ways that you can tell if a man is on a down low. Number 1, he is using your relationship as a cover-up. He can't stand you, and he's very jealous of you because he's fighting inner demons. He's mad that he can't come out the closet the way that he wants to. So you will be punished in that relationship because he is struggling with his identity. He targeted you and he chose you because you are going to help him clean up his identity. You're going to help him with his fake facade. See, he wants the community and his family and friends to believe that he married a gorgeous woman. You're super successful. It has nothing to do with love and totally about his image and tricking people and deflecting off the fact that he's a closeted homosexual. But what's going to happen within that marriage? He's going to bully and punish you. Whether you're living with him, y'all are engaged to be married, y'all just living together, y'all married, whatever the situation is, he's going to bully you in that relationship because number 1, he's envious of you. You are an actual woman. You got boobs, you got a nice booty, you got coochie, you're dressed fly, you look good. And when you walk into the room, you're going to get the attention of men. He wants the same attention as you from men. And because he can't come out the closet and live in his truth, you'll be bullied and punished for that. Number 2, he spends a lot of time with one specific homeboy. I mean, he spends a lot of time with this homeboy. They always run in the streets together. He's got a whole woman at home. Y'all are married, y'all are engaged, y'all are living together. Why is he spending more time with his homeboy running the streets than he does with you? That's because they're f***ing. Yeah, they're f***ing. I said what I said. Do the investigation and come back and thank me later. No man is supposed to spend too much time with his homeboy. And he got a whole woman at home. He's more loyal to his homeboy than he is to you because they're lovers. Number 3, Pay attention to the way that he makes love to you, the way that he handles you. He's going to handle you like a man. And you're going to notice that the sex is going to become robotic. Ain't nothing wrong with a little rough sex here and there, but he's going to handle you like a man. He's going to be robotic with it. There's going to be an emotional disconnect. You got to pay attention to the pattern. He's been with a man and he wants to go back to being with a man, and he does not enjoy sleeping with you. You can tell it and you can feel it. You got to pay attention. Be safe out here, ladies. It's ugly.
All right, so y'all want to know? Well, even if you don't, I'm going to tell it because it'll make me feel better. So this will probably be in a few parts, I'm sure. But so this will be part one of how I found out that my ex-husband is, well, gay at the time, but now he's trans. So it's definitely been a wild ride, but let's get into it. So I was 22 at the time. We had just had our first child, and that's the only child that we have together. We were together since I was like 18, so it was like 4 or 5 year relationship total. So we were on the couch watching a TV show, and he had just gotten up to go to the computer to check his Facebook. And I thought, rude. Well, I noticed he had a message, but he like wasn't clicking on it. And I'm like, well, who's the message from? Typically you go on Facebook, check your notifications, things like that. And so he checks it and he tells me it's so-and-so. I don't want to say any names on here, but it was a boy that I had actually dated in high school for a very short period of time that had recently came out on Facebook that he was gay. And I was like, weird. Like, they were acquaintances because we're like from a small town, but they weren't like friends. So I thought that was kind of weird. So I then tried to like log in to his Facebook on my phone, and I seen the password had changed. Couldn't get in. I was like, what the fuck? So I kind of was like upset. So I went to go take a shower. He could obviously sense that I was upset. He came and tried to get in, and I was like, get out. And he's all like, no, I want to come in. And I was like, I'm not sharing the water. So then I was like, okay, let me figure this out. Let me hurry up, get out, he'll be in soap, and then I can go to the computer because it would like auto log in. So that's what I did. He was still in the shower. I went out there, and it auto logs in. I click on the message, and literally my heart just like sank. And I will read it to you. It literally said, the message he wrote to him. So my ex-husband wrote it to him and was like, hey, as you know, I'm married to Marina, and I just recently realized I am gay. How did your family respond to you when you came out? And I was just like, I couldn't breathe. Like, oh, I can't even tell you. All I remember was my baby was like 2 months old, 3 months old, laying right next to the computer in their little sleeper. I just kept like panning back and forth like, oh my God, the computer, my baby, what do I do? And so I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Let me get dressed, and I'm going to leave the baby here because he didn't even work at the time. I was the only one that would work. So go to part 2. Okay, so part 2 of how I found out that my ex-husband was gay. So we left off in the part of I just read the messages on the computer and was looking back and forth at the computer to my baby and decided I was going to leave. And so I decided I'm going to leave the messages up on the computer so he knew exactly why it was that I left. And so I just got dressed and I took off. And I knew he was going to call. And I was literally just like dying inside. Like, I had never felt a pain like so physical in my body. Like, I couldn't breathe. I was like screaming. I called my mom, and I just remember screaming at the top of my lungs, and she had no idea what was going on. I'm just like, he's gay. And my mom's like, who, what are you talking about? And so I just told her, and she was just like, I'm so sorry. She didn't even know what to say. Like, it was terrible. And so I hung up, and I ended up driving to my friend's house. I called her on the way, and her response was, honey, we know. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? How does everybody know when I don't even know? Like, I don't even know. But I get to her house, I'm waiting, and because she wasn't quite back. Okay, so I know my sound cut off in the last video, so I'm going to try and redo this. I don't know why it keeps doing that. But so this will be like part 2.5 of how I found out that my husband was gay. And we left off where I just got to my friend's house, okay, and I was waiting. So I was just in her driveway just crying and crying and crying uncontrollably. And I knew he was going to call. He does. And I just was so mad. I just kept thinking, like, what the is he going to say? There's nothing he can say. So I answer, right? And he was so quiet. All he just kept saying was, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for you to find out this way. Come back. We'll talk about it. And I'm thinking, talk about what? You like dudes now. Like, my world is flipped. Like, there's no way you can work through that. Like, I'm not a dude. I don't have a wiener. Like, what? And he was just like, well, I've never been with anybody. So what if I built this up in my mind? And I'm like, built it up? Like, either you do or you don't. Like, figure it out, because I'm not going to sit here and wait around for this. So my friend came, we went inside, we talked about it, and she kind of went over things that she was like, I knew, you know. And I try and think back, and I'm like, there was, I guess a few things, but there wasn't like a whole lot. Like, from what I can remember now, 12 years later, I do remember that I started seeing a lot of, like, on Netflix, you know, like when you watch things like you're previously watched, I've seen a lot of like gay movies, and it was like things that were recommended, and they all were along that like genre. And I was like, that's kind of weird, but I was like, it's fine. And then like his taste in music, you know, Sarah McLachlan, things like that. But overall, he's a very like masculine man. Like, we're from Montana. Like, his dad owns a wrecking yard. Like, they fix vehicles, and very dude, like, you know, not pretty at all, like, that's for sure. Like, doesn't take care of himself at all, like you would expect. So, but overall, like, we did a little like marriage counseling and stuff. We stayed separated, but I was like, I will never wait around for someone who didn't choose me first. Like, how could I show my son what a healthy relationship looks like when clearly this is not a healthy relationship, you know? So we split, and it was amicable. Like, it was fine. But in the next video, I'm going to talk more about he's trans now and kind of how that's gone. Okay, so part 3 of how I found out that my husband was gay and now he's trans. So I had found out a few years ago that he is, I guess, trans now. He came to my house, and we had always had like a really good relationship. Like, I would borrow him money, things like that. He never paid child support. It was just kind of like he came and went when it was convenient for him. He was definitely involved, but he never like would take him for the full amount of time, things like that. Like, never had a solid job up until like recently, things like this. So when I found out, honestly, I was pissed, because I was like, what? Why do you keep taking me on this wild ride? Like, through like our divorce and stuff, it was weird, because he was like, I'm gay, and then he said, well, no, I'm bi, I kind of like women too, and then was back to being gay. And I'm like, now you believe you're a woman? Like, I'm so like shook, and I was so upset, because I was like, for one, instantly in my brain I was like, no, you're not going to start spending all of your money that you don't pay for your son on your wardrobe and any sort of treatments or any sort of surgeries and things like that. So I was mad. I was so mad, I can't even freaking tell you. Like, I was like, why do I just have to keep dealing with this over and over and over, when you could have told me from the beginning? You know what I mean? Like, it's just been really hard. But as time has gone on and stuff now, like, I'm fine with it. I don't really care. We get along just fine. You know, we live 5 minutes apart, and he's always here for everything, you know, like he takes him and all that kind of stuff now, you know. And so everything's good, but I still have these weird ups and downs. Like, why do I always just have to be along for the ride? But then I also feel so sad for what he's had to go through as well, because again, that type of a situation is not about me, and thank God I don't have to understand it, because it's not something that I'm actually experiencing for myself. I'm just one of the bystanders in this. But the hard thing for me is I always want to protect my son and make sure that he doesn't have to carry the burden of what's going on with his dad, because other people will find out, other people will talk to him, other people will say things to him, and thank God my son is so resilient and he's okay with that, you know, and he's like, I got this, you know, I can handle this, whatever. He's 12 now. But it's been interesting.
The amount of DL men that are walking around here in these streets, ladies, would absolutely astound you. And I'm needing you to use your discernment, because trust me when I say they are all over the place. Men that have been married for like 28 years, got like 5 kids. I'm telling you, the more like uber masculine, machismo that they be acting, I'm telling you, they be sliding in my side of the street in my DMs. I know this for a fact. Here's the thing. As a black man, I know how hard it is to have to come out as gay or bisexual, and sidebar, a whole lot of these dudes calling themselves bisexual are actually gay, but that's a different topic for another time. I know how hard that is. That does not give a man an excuse to walk and live in deception in such a way that puts his wife or the women that he's seeing in potential danger. How did they reconcile that in their spirit? How is that right to them in their spirit? Because that's exactly what they're doing. That is unacceptable, and you deserve better.
Hey, TikTok. I'm here. This is going to be like story time. So this is part 1. And I'm going to discuss about my husband. Finding out that my husband was on the DL. We was together for 16 years. This June 15th, it will be 9 years. This is part 1. So like and follow for part 2. But we've been together all this time. There was definitely no clear indication that this man liked men. My concern had always been women, and as a woman who's married, you and loyal and faithful, you don't want to, have to be feeling like you're in competition with other women, but to just start having things drop in your lap to let you know that, hey, not only do you have competition with women, you also have competition with men. And how can you compete with another man? I'm definitely not doing that, and I'm not okay with that. So, hey TikTok, good evening. This is part 2 of my story from yesterday. So I'm just going to jump right on in and kind of just, let you guys know the things that I said that started falling in my lap. So the first thing that dropped in my lap was a book bag full of dildos hidden in my office in the closet that I stumbled across cleaning the closet out. Now, only my husband and I are home. That's in the house. All the kids are grown. They're out the house. Those were not my dildos that I would stash in the closet anyway. So I dumped them all out on the floor and left them there until my husband came home, so that I can question him, like, who do these dildos belong to? Why are they in our house hidden in a closet? What have you been doing? Like for part 3. So I dumped all the dildos out on the floor. So when my husband got home, I can address it. He came home and I asked him, like, hey, why are these in the house? Who they belong to? And so his excuse or lie was, oh, I didn't know how to tell you. I've been working a part-time job. At night, these strippers be doing private parties, and one of them left their bag in my car. So of course I would have bought into that had I found the bag full of dildos in his car. They were in my house, wrapped around my towels, good towels that been coming up missing. So, I'm just sitting there looking at him puzzled, like, you really expect me to believe this? And part 4 to continue. Part 4 redo. So I'm sorry, y'all. I think because I had the music in the background, TikTok, the muted or whatever. But anyway, so I'm going to try to make this quick. He of course gave me the excuse about why the dildos was in the house. And this wasn't the first bag of dildos that I ended up finding. After that, I ended up finding a second bag of dildos. Now at the time, I'm thinking that, he using these dildos on girls or other females. I'm not even thinking that it's a man, not at all. Have no idea, no clue, didn't think it was a man. But so, and I'm accusing him of messing around with women, and that's why the dildos in the house, they weren't mine. We've never used them. They were hidden in the closet. He stuck with that lie. He stuck with that excuse that he was just, taking these strippers to do side jobs. Part 5 coming now as the saga continues. So when he got home, I addressed the photos and stuff of the email and the secret email. And, all he wanted to do is, as he's been doing, obviously, through the whole marriage, is just lying about everything. He was like, oh, that's not mine. My whatever his friend was that was at the house that day had used the computer. He think that was him. So, but he still couldn't explain how pictures of him being naked on there in this email that I had no idea of. Like, how can you explain that? What is going on here? But, for me, I was just over it. At this point, I was done. I don't want no parts of it. I value my life, my health, and, he need to get some help. You're sick. Like, you need to get help, and don't drag innocent people into your BS. Period and point blank. Hey TikTok, I'm back. I'm going to close this out in this segment and in another one. But everything that transpired between him with the dildos, the gay porn on the TV, and the illicit photos that I found linked to his email address of him, pictures of him, and then other men. I'm assuming that he was the one that took those pictures, and really I shouldn't have had to question him about it, because everything that I saw just pretty much sealed the deal. I've actually seen text messages in his phones where he was texting this gay guy or whatever. I travel a lot, and he was bringing it into our home. So I ended up, just leaving. I left him. I put my stuff in storage, moved in with my oldest daughter and my granddaughter, stayed with them until I found my own place. So this should be the last part. So I moved, got my own place, which is where I am now. I did file for my divorce. If you don't know, for those who need to know, you have to be separated for a full year, which I was. And then when I went to file for my divorce, Corona had happened, so the courts and everything had closed. But finally, I was able to get him served, file my, get the papers, and now I'm just waiting on a court date. The courts are backed up. I cannot wait to get my name back. He can have his name back. And I will definitely be watching out for signs from men. Like, when I think about it now, there are things that I probably should have paid more attention to that I didn't, that could have been a telltale giveaway. But women out there, like, if your man holds your hand like this too much, if you catch him staring at other gay guys, that may be an indication. Thank y'all for listening to.
Thank you so much for sticking around until the end of the video, guys. If you haven't already yet, like the video, please go ahead and like the video. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, guys, walk good.